Smells like football, baby.
What's up, people? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Smackdown. I'm your host, Kyle August. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8. It's Tuesday. That means it's Waiver Wire Day here on the Fantasy Football Smackdown. Hopefully, you guys had a successful Week 10. The Fantasy Football playoffs are just about 4 weeks away now this extra week of the NFL season. Most people starting in Week 15 as far as the fantasy playoffs go. So still a little ways to go yet. Got to be battling for those playoff positions. Hopefully you're looking at some bye weeks in the playoffs, which are always nice as well. But as always, appreciate you checking out this show and all of the content here on the Dynasty Warzone Network. Of course, this week we got you covered again from start to finish with the Smackdown today, the Warzone, the Fabulous Big Bet. Be back here on the Fantasy Football Smackdown Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, getting you set with those start sits. Then you got DFS content, and I'll be back again on Saturday once again with Waiver Wire sniping. So lots going on. As far as next week goes, just a little heads up. I'm sure Memphis will talk about on the Warzone show, but we're going to be having a little bit of a different look as far as how next week goes with Thanksgiving, but stay tuned for that. Without any further ado, though, let's dive into this. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should be. You can get to see all of these names and stats and percentages here on the screen. But let's just dive into this thing. 2 teams on bye in Week 11, the Denver Broncos and the Rams. I don't know if you obviously got a chance to watch that Rams Monday Night Football game that just concluded as of recording this. They could probably use a bye week. So there you go. Denver and the Rams are going to be on bye in Week 11. So just 2 teams. Top 3 ads overall, regardless of position. I use a 50% cutoff here. So there are some players that are available in about 50% of leagues. So just double check, like right around 50, 51. So just double check. Teams get a little less active on the wire these days. So they could be out there. I'm looking at you, Rashad Bateman. But sub 50. Number 1, Jordan Howard still has been picked up. He's the top running back right now for me. And my top overall ad, regardless of position, 48%. Number 2 is Ramondre Stevenson on a short week. New England traveling to Atlanta. Stevenson's 32% owned, coming off a big game. And Foreman, he's only 4% owned. These are all running backs, but they're my top 3 ads, regardless of position. We'll dive into each position here, starting with the quarterbacks. The streamers for Week 11, I'm putting Jimmy G at the top here. Solid game overall. Not the big fantasy numbers that we've seen over the last couple weeks, but had back-to-back 20-point games before this Monday Night Football game against the Rams. He gets an easier opponent on the road, but gets the Jags. So Jimmy G, 25% owned, is my top QB streamer of the week. If you're looking to stream, if you're the Matthew Stafford owner maybe, or you're dealing with some injuries. Number 2 is Mack Jones, coming off a 3-touchdown game. Did have sub 200 yards, but he's going up against Atlanta. That is on Thursday Night Football, and Atlanta's defense just gives it all up all the time. So Atlanta and Mack Jones is 27% owned. Tua has already been named the starter for the Miami Dolphins in Week 11, and he gets the Jets on the road. Tua, 23% owned. He's had some really solid fantasy days before he got injured. A couple good games there, so I think this will be one of his better games in Week 11. Number 4 on this list is Justin Fields. He had 2 pretty impressive performances before the Bears headed into their bye last week. They're going to be at home in Chicago against the Ravens. Fields 25% owned. We saw him running a little bit more the last 2 weeks. He was in action, so hopefully that'll lead to some fantasy production down the stretch. And number 5 on this list is Cam Newton, a name that I didn't think I'd be mentioning at any time on this show, but he's going to be the starter more than likely for the Carolina Panthers. So he's somebody that you need to take a look at, as he's going to be in Carolina against the Washington football team, against his old coach. Narrative streak, berserk. 16% owned Cam Newton. There you have it. The running backs already kind of took over the top 3 on this list because they're my top 3 overall. But Jordan Howard, 48% owned, another 80-yard clip this last week. Miles Sanders still on IR. He says he's back, but the team really hasn't given any indication of that yet. So as long as Sanders is out, this team's running the ball well with Jordan Howard. I don't think they get away from him just yet. Ramondre Stevenson, 32% owned. Now keep an eye on Harris for the Patriots, but New England does have a short week going into Atlanta on Thursday Night Football. If Stevenson's the lead back there, he's a slam dunk start at 32% owned. You need to be scooping him up, if anything else, just to see how it's going to play out on Thursday night, or even blocking your opponents. Number 4 on this list is Foreman, who out-carried Adrian Peterson on Sunday. Foreman also had a long catch in that game as well. Still only saw 11 carries. And Peterson was getting the looks at the goal line. So I think this is still, you can kind of grab him before the getting's good. Some would say, I don't know who the hell would say that. Some would. That's what I'm sticking with. But I think Foreman could be the guy down the stretch for the Titans that they begin to lean on a little bit more. You want to see him getting those goal line carries. His overall numbers on Sunday weren't great. So I think this is a guy that isn't going to be on a lot of people's radar. So 4% owned Donta Foreman, go get him. Number 4 on this list is Wayne Goldman. I actually think Goldman's going to be higher up on a lot of people's list due to the Cordero Patterson injury that the reports have him out maybe a couple weeks. Unlikely, doubtful per reports that he's going to play on Thursday with that ankle sprain. Now, Goldman out-carried Mike Davis by a large margin on Sunday. However, everybody that watched that game knew that it was over by halftime. I mean, they even pulled Matt Ryan by late in that game. So as much as I do think Goldman is worth a flyer for sure, because if you're Atlanta, you might as well see what you have in this kid, because everyone knows Mike Davis isn't the answer. But I don't think that they're just going to hand the keys over to Wayne Goldman. I mean, I think he'll see a healthy workload, maybe 35 to 40% if Patterson's out, but I'm not quite sure he's a lead back yet. I'm personally not willing to go there. If you think otherwise, then Goldman needs to be higher up on your list, maybe even ahead of Stevenson. But Goldman for me is number 4. Number 5 on this list is Ty Johnson. He's been relatively solid as of late, especially in PPR. To be honest, there just aren't any other huge ads, and Johnson's somebody that is at least usable in a flex, even in PPR leagues. So Ty Johnson, 19% owned. Like what we saw as far as his usage, even with Tevin Coleman back last week, Johnson was still seeing the field on third downs. I note on here, he didn't make my top 5, but I note Latavius Murray. I keep mentioning him every single week, but he was out the week before the bye week. Then it came back, was inactive. Then had the short week on Thursday night, was inactive for that as well. I still think that when he's back, he's going to be the guy. Now, is he more just a flex once he's back? Probably. But at 28% on, I think Murray's somebody that you should be at least stashing, maybe throw in a $0 bid just to see if you can just throw him on the end of your bench if you don't want to pay up for any of these other guys that people will be going after this week. Personally, if I didn't need a starter this week, I'd be taking Murray for free over having to pay $5-10 for Wayne Goldman, but there you have it. Wide receivers. Now, this is just a giant-ass group of guys that are coming back off bye, it feels like, but with the New York Giants returning from their bye week, hopefully we'll see a little bit more health out of their wide receiver core. Kenny G was back before the bye week. Sterling Shepard has been out, but he's 34% owned. He would be my top wide receiver ad. Not really excited about it. Obviously, none of these receivers broke into my top 3 overall players. I mentioned earlier, that Rashad Bateman is 50% owned. He would be far and away my number 1 player. But if I'm going sub 50, Sterling Shepard 34% owned, and his teammate Kadarius Toney 46% owned. We just don't know what this is going to look like yet. There's reports that Saquon Barkley could be back this week as well. That's just more players added to this offense. So a little unsure what it's going to look like. Darnell Mooney had a big game, then headed into the bye week, but at 46% owned, you can pick him back up if he's been put on waivers. James Washington hit pay dirt last week. He was 3rd in the pecking order as far as the receiver targets go, but I think Washington has kind of taken that outside role with Chase Claypool potentially going to miss a little bit more time. So I take a shot on James Washington. And then another guy who scored on Sunday is Bryan Edwards. He's just been a big play guy for the Las Vegas, almost said Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders, but his targets are just not extremely high. So he's really boom bust. I probably want to take a shot, especially on those Giants or Mooney there at the top at receiver. Tight end, this man's picture is forever copied and pasted right here until people start putting some respect on the name of Dan Arnold. I know I laughed when Jacksonville traded for him as well. I was like, why the hell are they trading for this guy? The dude has 60-plus yards in 3 of his last 4 games. He's been extremely solid. He's a top 12 tight end, and for some known reason, he's 26% owned. That's it. Go get him right now. If you're not happy with your tight end situation, this is the guy that you need to go grabbing right now. If you have Dalton Schultz and you feel pretty shitty about how Sunday went for you, here's your answer. Dan Arnold. Go get this guy. Firemouth. Yeah, that was all fun and all. His name's real hilarious. Dan Arnold. Let's go. 26% owned. Number 2 on this list is Tyler Conklin, the touchdown monster, apparently. He gets Green Bay this week. He's 30% owned. He's a fine streamer. And Adam Troutman, who has upwards, I think, of 16 targets in his last 3 games. Now, he hasn't hit pay dirt yet. That's why he's only 5% owned, because he hasn't done a lot with it. But going up against Philly, I think Troutman has a shot at his best game of the year if you're looking to stream tight ends. And DSTs, let's do it. San Francisco shut down the Rams on Monday Night Football in Week 10. They're 47% owned. So if they're out there, because they were probably dropped because they were facing the Rams, go out, grab them now because they're playing Jacksonville in Week 11. And this is a team that you can count on for some production as far as the Jags, any DST going up against them. Another horrible offense would be the New York Jets. Well, the Miami Dolphins got 10 days to prepare for them. 26% owned. Miami is somebody you can go grab right now. Carolina Panthers going up against Washington football team. Washington, they beat Tampa. You can't take that away from them, but this offense is definitely not, one that you're afraid of for fantasy purposes. And this Carolina defense has been pretty decent for fantasy. Not as much upside as the other two, but solid enough. 30% owned Carolina Panthers. And then the Washington football team going up against Carolina. They did lose Chase Young, though, so it's a little bit not as excited about that situation there for Washington in Week 11. Well, there you have it. There are all your waiver wire ads with 11 minutes. That's all you need. Those are all the players you should be looking at on your waiver wire for this week. Again, tune in tomorrow, Dynasty Warzone every single Wednesday, and I'll be back here on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to jump in live, bring your questions live on YouTube. If you follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8, I posted up there as well. But come join us live on the YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday night for those start-sit questions. Appreciate you checking out this show. Good luck to you on the waiver wire. I'll catch you later in the week. See ya.